Welcome and good morning to everyone here. This is really a very wonderful day, I think, for many of us, where we are seeing in real life what we have been talking about for years now, which is what we can do in our state, and starting with Los Angeles County, to be what we call smart on crime. I want to acknowledge and thank a few folks who are here. There are many folks that really deserve acknowledgement. Sheriff Jim McDonald, who's going to speak, who has been an extraordinary leader, and he will talk about the work that he's doing through the Sheriff's Department to make this real. Chief Probation Officer Jerry Powers, again, another leader in Los Angeles. He really does not have the resources he needs to do the work he does, but he gets the job done every day. Steve Good, the Executive Director of the Five Keys Charter School. Dr. Ed Latessa, who is at the University of Cincinnati Corrections Institute. We're going to talk a little bit about his extraordinary work, which is part of the foundation for the approach that we have to doing the work that we do with Back on Track. We have Dr. Diane Van Hook, the Chancellor from Santa Clarita Community College District, who will also speak. I want to thank the Los Angeles Mission College and the Los Angeles Trade Technical College for their work. Judge James Brenlin, the supervising judge of the Criminal Division of the Los Angeles Superior Court. Judge Peter Espinoza from Norwalk, Superior Court of Los Angeles, who has been just personally so very committed to doing this work and a real leader on the bench. Dr. Stephen Golightly from the Los Angeles Child Support Services. I'll talk a little bit about the critical nature of the work that they are doing to make Back on Track effective and real. Doug Wood, who will speak from the Ford Foundation, part of our public-private partnership, and someone who has really provided a vision for this work throughout the country, but has fueled the work we're doing here in Los Angeles. And I also want to thank the California Wellness Foundation and the Rosenberg Foundation and the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors. We have many leaders on that board who are part of standing this initiative up. So I am proud to announce this morning the official launch of Back on Track Los Angeles. those guys. So Back on Track LA is essentially a public-private partnership that brings existing resources and services together under one roof in a collaborative approach that is focused on doing what we all want, which is to be efficient with existing resources, to create accountability in systems, to expect accountability from individuals, and to be smart on crime by enhancing and increasing public safety. Back on Track Los Angeles was born out of a belief that for too long when we talk about criminal justice policy, we have offered a false choice. The false choice being we are either soft on crime or tough on crime, instead of asking, are we smart on crime? Doing the work of being smart in achieving what we all want, which is public safety. Doing the work of being smart in the way the public health model has taught us to be smart to address and confront and combat any epidemic, be it health or crime. The public health model tells us quite well. The best, most effective way to confront it is prevention first. If the sniffles take on and there's some indication that it has taken on, early intervention. But if we're addressing the issue purely in a reactive mode in the emergency room or the prison system or our county jails, it's much too late and it's far too expensive. That is the spirit and those are the principles behind Back on Track Los Angeles. And that is why we are leading this effort through the California Department of Justice, and as the top cop of the biggest state in this country in partnership with the top cop of one of the biggest counties in the world, to do the work of providing folks with an example, with the pilot, with a model of how this work can actually be achieved. So essentially, part of the impetus and the background of Back on Track Los Angeles is the work that I did years ago in San Francisco's district attorney when we created Back on Track San Francisco. And essentially what we did is, again, it was a public-private partnership where we worked with everyone from the Chamber of Commerce to building trades councils and labor unions and community folks and foundations to focus on known offenders and reduce the likelihood that they will reoffend by bringing to them the skills they need to actually participate in society and be accountable. Be accountable for themselves, accountable to their community, accountable to their families. In doing the work we did in San Francisco, over the course of 5 years, we reduced the recidivism for that population from 54% to less than 10%. It is on the basis of that success and operating from that hypothesis that we are doing and conducting Back on Track Los Angeles. So essentially what it is a public-private partnership, as I mentioned. The partners include the Division of Recidivism Reduction and Reentry that we created last year in the California Department of Justice. It includes the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles County Probation Office, and Five Keys Charter School. The funders include the United States Department of Justice, and in particular, we were able to submit a proposal and a request for support through the Second Chance Act, and were granted support and resources through that. The Ford Foundation has been extraordinary in reaching out to support the work that we are doing in Los Angeles. You'll hear more about that, but understanding that we can be a model for the country. Also, the California Wellness Foundation and the Rosenberg Foundation. So who are the Back on Track LA participants? You have, I think, met some of them. Some of them are with us in the room. And I've had a chance to visit with them before today. And they're extraordinary human beings because they appreciate the fact that in a system such as ours, we are going to expect that when people have broken the law, they will be held accountable. There will be consequence and accountability. But they also understand what we understand. It's an age-old concept that transcends religions that is discussed in this word called redemption. We all will make a mistake. For some of us, that will rise to the level of being a crime. There must be consequence and accountability. But a civil society certainly must afford those individuals an opportunity to earn their way back. That's what Back on Track is about. And so what we are doing is we are focusing in particular on 90 individuals as part of the pilot who are here at the Pitchess Detention Facility and who as a group are, some of them, many of them, nonviolent, most of them, nonviolent drug offenders. They are individuals who range in age from 18 to 60. 75% of them are 18 through 44 years old. 77% are African American or Latino. More than half grew up with a family member or family members who used drugs. Half had parents who were incarcerated, and half of them are currently fathers. Why are they here? They are here for nonviolent, non-serious, non-sexual offenses. The majority of them, as I said, are here for offenses that are related to drugs. Their remaining sentences range from 7 to 18 months, and none of them are receiving a reduced sentence for being a part of this initiative. Essentially, the program has 4 components that are critical to, we believe, showing the success. And the success, again, being defined as reducing recidivism, the likelihood that they will reoffend when they're out of custody. The first, which is a very critical piece of it, is what we call cognitive behavior training. That's a fancy term for essentially helping people to reorder their perspective and their thoughts about their reality. Dr. Ed Latessa is here from the University of Cincinnati. He has been doing the research, has been doing the writing, has been publishing on this for over 20 years, and has mounds of empirical data and evidence to support the notion that when we engage in evidence-based intervention, we can reduce recidivism by teaching participants how to solve problems and respond to risky scenarios. So I dropped in last week on some of the classes. And I walked in to see a discussion of two of the participants. We're not calling them inmates. They are participants in this initiative who were role-playing. And there was a discussion about what's going to happen when you get out. And there was a discussion about what does it mean to be off drugs and to be clean and to be sober. And it was an honest discussion. Part of the discussion was, everybody tells you get clean and get sober and life's going to be great. Actually, that's not true. Because you see, you will no longer be high. Your emotions will no longer be blunted. You are going to have to face reality. And reality includes the fact that you've got to pay bills. You've got to figure out how you will have a roof over your head and feed your babies. Reality requires confronting difficult decisions. But reality also, when one is clean and sober, allows you to actually have the cognitive ability to address those situations and solve them. So that was part of the role-playing. Another example of what Dr. Latessa calls thinking for a change involves a situation where a participant role-plays with another about what's going to happen when he's released. So part of the reality of what happens often when someone in custody is released is their friends and family will host a welcome home party. That sounds right. But the welcome home party will often include a presentation of an assortment of drugs and alcohol. So the role-playing is about what are you going to do when you get out and you're presented with the welcome home party. How are you going to talk to your friends and your neighbors and your family and say, this is not exactly what I want or need? Helping them role play before they get into the situation where they may not otherwise have the tools to address a situation that is not healthy for them or productive for them and actually may also require them to violate the law and the terms of their probation. Cognitive behavior training. The second critical component of Back on Track is the educational component, which is different from the cognitive training component. Education, confronting the reality that many of the participants need to get their GED. Some actually have graduated high school, and so let's get them involved in college courses. Let's get them involved in pre-apprenticeship programs, because we are also partnering with the building trades, the plumbers, the electricians, folks who are willing to actually allow them to use the skill they have to join and get jobs. So there's the educational component. And in particular, we've got a great program that is being run by the Sheriff's Department around welding as one example of a skill that is required to be part of the building trades. A third component is life skills. And so that's employment skills, and that's practical living skills. Some people refer to that as soft skills. What does that mean? Well, so for example, training folks that when you go to work, people will look at their watch and look at what time you walked in. And they'll make decisions about your character based on whether you arrive on time or late. Teaching soft skills. When you wake up and you wake up at 5 o'clock to get on 2 buses to go to work the first day, you do the same thing the next day, and on the third day you realize you don't have a new outfit. Doesn't matter. Put it on and go to work. All people care about is, are you doing your work, getting there on time, and doing it well? Don't let the reason be that you don't go to work because you're ashamed you're wearing the same outfit you were wearing the first day. Soft skills. Teaching folks that it is realistic that in the workplace you will have a supervisor who may give you critical feedback. They're not picking a fight with you. So no need to roll up the sleeves and engage in combat. It's the reality of what happens in the workplace. And then fourth and finally, as the critical component of our in-custody program, are reentry services. And so focusing, for example, on child support. It has been our experience that, as we said, half of the participants are fathers. And I talked with them. They love their children. They want to parent their children. And they also acknowledge that they may not necessarily have the skills or the resources to do it the way they want to do it. So we are partnering with nonprofits and community-based folks to help support them to fulfill their natural desire. The Department of Child Support Services in Los Angeles has been extraordinary and very creative in figuring out how we can reduce arrears, compliant with the law, to get these men on a payment schedule they can afford. Why? Because we know how it plays out. Unburdened by the label deadbeat dad, his chin is up, shoulders are back, more engaged in parenting his child. So these are very real and important components, all of which obviously are meant to address the whole person. Next is the transition from in custody to out of custody, and that is critical. How do we remain fluid and seamless in bringing this person back into our community in a way that we reduce the likelihood that they will reoffend? Nearly 50% of those who recidivate do so within 3 years, do so in the first 6 months. So the first 6 months are critical. Many people will tell you the first 72 hours are extremely critical. So what we are doing is partnering with the Los Angeles County Probation Department to provide case managers, and you'll hear more about that, to follow the participants and work with them for at least the first 12 months after their release. And the next, we have the out-of-custody program as it relates to what they're actually required to do when they are out of custody. And 3 components are there. One is employment, the second is housing, and the third is continuing education. All self-explanatory. We are partnering with local businesses. We are partnering with labor unions to do the work of bringing jobs and a commitment to bringing jobs to these participants when they are complying with all of the requirements of the initiative. Housing. We have, again, with the partnership with the Los Angeles County Probation Department, a commitment, along with folks like Scott Budnick, to work on making sure that we have housing available for these participants, and many of whom acknowledge that it probably is not best that they go back to the place that they left, because that's not a healthy place for them. So they need help being situated in a new place, and we are doing that work. And then continuing education, and in particular, facilitating the transfer of credits from their in-custody education component to out-of-custody. Why is all of this important? Well, it's not about just knowing what human beings are capable of. It's also the smart on crime philosophy is about measuring our effectiveness as the private sector does so well. What is the return on our investment? What is the return on our investment as Californians, as taxpayers, as members of a society? And in that way, we can measure the effectiveness and the potential effectiveness of Back on Track. It costs $38,000 a year to house somebody in the Los Angeles County Jail. Back on Track is an investment of just over $3,000 per participant. So when you play out the numbers, if we can reduce recidivism by even 20%, we will save Los Angeles County approximately $11 million over 2 years. Reducing recidivism also saves us the cost of crime, the psychic cost of crime to a community, the cost of prosecuting a case. As a former DA, I can tell you, on average, it costs about $10,000 to prosecute the lowest level felony. Crime is expensive. And part of what we are focusing on with Back on Track is relieving the expense that we are all paying for crime. And also, the final component that is critical about what we are doing here is we are saying that we are going to infuse metrics into our analysis of effectiveness. It's time that we in the criminal justice system stop measuring our effectiveness based on some blind adherence to tradition. We're doing it the way it's always been done. We measure our effectiveness based on our conviction rates. But our conviction rates are absolutely an accurate measure. But it measures our effectiveness in reacting to crime after it has occurred. What we are saying is we are going to infuse new metrics in addition to that to judge our effectiveness. And in particular, we're going to measure recidivism. So part of the critical component of Back on Track is a real commitment to measure and evaluate outcomes, evidence-based policy work. And so what we are doing is we're going to use the Sheriff's Department's extraordinary software to collect and evaluate data, including recidivism rates, including as factors what we are looking at in terms of the stability of employment and housing. We're going to look at family reunification as one of the measures of effectiveness, and we're going to look at the fact that we have reduced future victims as a measure of effectiveness. So in conclusion, I'll say this. I spoke with many of the sheriff's deputies who are a part of this during my last visit here. And I will tell you, they are so personally committed to this work. And I think that that is the most telling sign of the need for this new approach to criminal justice policy. These are folks who have been doing the work on the ground for years. They are career law enforcement leaders. They have seen it all. And they know that this approach is actually a smart way to achieve everything they took an oath to concern themselves with, which is the safety of their communities. So this is not about transformation of individuals. This is about transformation of a system. And I'll close by saying that, you know, in California, we pride ourselves on many things, of being the first of many things. And in particular, I think we do these things because we are committed to the concept of innovation. And innovation, at its heart, is about pursuing a new method, not because we're bored with the old thing, but because we want to pursue something in the goal of being more effective and efficient and accountable and accurate. Back on Track Los Angeles is, I think, a perfect model of innovation in government, and I'm very proud of the work we are doing and our partners. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic to the great Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Jim McDonnell.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming out here today to be able to showcase a great day in our steps moving forward. And I'm proud to be standing here today with Attorney General Harris, Probation Chief Powers, and so many others who are critical players in ensuring that the future is brighter than the past, to be able to put a spotlight on this particular impressive program. They're not just leaders in their respective agencies, but also close partners in building a justice system that doesn't just throw people away, but tries to chart a better path for those in our custody, and in doing so, build a better society. For too long, we've incarcerated an ever greater percentage of our community, and we've presumed that the solution to so many of society's challenges, including mental illness, substance abuse, homelessness, and poverty, is our prisons and our jails. Now, with the leadership of individuals such as Attorney General Kamala Harris, we're bringing new thinking to these issues. And I'm proud to be part of the effort to rethink past practices and find a new and better way to address these challenges. The job of the County Sheriff's Department is to police the community and also to keep those convicted of crimes safe and secure for however long they need to be removed from the community. Today, there's about 17,500 individuals that are incarcerated in the Los Angeles County jail system. Too many of those in our jail system came from broken homes and challenging life circumstances. Many experienced trauma at early ages and were set back. A very high percentage never finished school. The Los Angeles County Jail, as with many jails, has for too long been a revolving door. Very few of those filling our jails today have the needed tools to be able to give them a good shot upon release of not coming right back here. The circumstances that led them into our jails vary. But what a great many of those filling our jails have in common is a desire not to come back, a desire to finish the education that they abandoned, a desire to learn the skills that will give them a shot at an honest day's work, a desire to be more than a statistic, and a desire to get back on track. It's tempting to believe that by being tough on criminals, by depriving them of education and skills training, we're being tough on crime. But that simply is not the case. We can reduce crime by reducing criminals. And we can reduce criminals by giving people the skills that they need to be able to get back on track when they're released. The LASD agreed to launch the Back on Track initiative with Attorney General Harris, Chief Powers, and our wonderful school and foundation partners last year. I'm proud to stand with all of them today as you have a chance to see the program live and in action. And as you walk around here, you'll see examples of the academic, the vocational training, and the life skills. And just to name a few, right not far from here at all, there were classes underway in painting, welding, bicycle repair, and animal grooming. And so when you look at that and, on the Back on Track program, the inmates receive instruction, mentorship, and a supportive structure both in and out of custody, which will facilitate their return to our community and give them a better shot of not returning to our care. The Attorney General talked about looking at this as a medical model, to be able to perform the diagnosis and then to prescribe the treatment that's individualized to the person. So what we're announcing today is not merely an experiment. We know we have too many people in jail who can and should be contributing members of our society. Many of those in jail regret the decisions of their youth that landed them where they are today. This unique program offers hope to those who too often cycle in and out of our jails, who need that life raft that we can help them change course. And it will undoubtedly serve as a national model for new thinking around these important issues. There's a famous Albert Einstein quote that we've always heard, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result. And for too often, you look at the system that we've had the opportunity to watch and hope that would change, but it didn't, because we didn't change the way we looked at it. That's what we've been doing in our jails for hundreds of years. But California and Los Angeles are places where we like to try new things, where we prize law and order, but where we also love a good comeback story. I'm proud to be a partner in this exciting and important initiative, and I thank Attorney General Harris for her leadership on this. Thank you very much.
Chief Jerry Powers.
Excuse me. I want to thank Attorney General Harris, Sheriff McDonnell, all of our partners here for standing this program up. This is a unique collaboration in Los Angeles County. It's the first of what will, I anticipate, be a much larger Back on Track program once we see the results of this. Throughout my career, and certainly over the last several years, when the state of California calls and says, "We need your help," that's usually not a good sign. It means more work's coming, and sometimes maybe a little bit of money. So when I got the phone call from the Attorney General saying, "I need your help," I was a little hesitant. She sent her staff down to twist my arm. And of course, the first thing I said is, "What resources are you going to bring?" And because the state's not very famous for doing that. And so they came down and they pitched this to me, and they said the Attorney General's committed to this 100%. We need you. We need Los Angeles County. We want to use Los Angeles as a model. So I said, "I'm in. We'll do this. But we have to do it right. We're not going to do this, excuse my language, but half-assed. We're going to do it right." She's committed to doing it right. And frankly, I think the beauty of this, or the reason that the Attorney General is so committed, she's one of us. She's a local. She came from local government. She was a prosecutor. She knows this criminal justice system. She's seen its failures, and she sees successes sometimes as well. I think we all agree we don't see enough successes coming out of our system. We've seen AB 109, we've seen Prop 47, we've seen significant criminal justice change in the last several years. I'm not sure that we've seen the kind of change that we need to have for long-lasting system reform. And programs like Back on Track, where we can take the offenders, they can do their time, but while they're doing their time, they're going to be productive. They're going to learn a trade. The two things that adult offenders tell us that they need when they get out: safe housing is critical, and a job. Those two things are critical. If we can do that, my staff will assist them in working on their child support obligations. We'll assist them on job placement, on housing. We will start working with these offenders while they're still in custody, which is not something that happens in the adult system. Typically, these gentlemen would not get a probation officer or access to a probation officer until they got out of custody. We'll start working with these guys when they get in the program. We'll do assessments. We'll find out what their needs are. We'll get the treatment that they need. Dr. Latessa is doing a great job of making sure that we're doing the right programs that will change the behaviors that need to be changed. And when these guys come out of custody, it will be a smooth transition, a seamless transition. They're going to know where they're going to live. They're going to know what their job's going to be. It's going to be a meaningful job. They're going to have some skills to go and make meaningful changes in their lives. The $38,000 that the Attorney General talked about that LA County spends on a jail bed per year is a drop in the bucket. These guys end up going to prison because that's what recidivists do. They typically keep offending until they go to prison. You can double that. And that doesn't count the costs to the victims and the costs to the other parts of our system. So for every one of these guys that we can turn around, it's one less victim. It's a jail bed that we don't have to pay for or to fill. It's a prison bed that's not going to get filled. It's a ripple effect. And I certainly can get behind that. And I appreciate all of our partners here. Probation will be a full partner. Sheriff McDonnell has done a great job in supporting this program and giving the facilities so that we can put these offenders in. There's 90 today. It's my hope 6 months from now there's 190, and 6 months from then there's 900. If we can grow this program, we can make a significant impact in the jail costs and the cost to society. Fewer victims, a better society. These guys will be able to take care of their families and their children. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I'm certainly proud to be here today and to offer the services of the Probation Department. And I want to thank again Attorney General Harris and Sheriff McDonnell and the other partners for working with us on this and leading the way. Thank you.
And next we have Chancellor Van Hook.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I want to thank all of the players involved for the leadership and having the guts to challenge what's easy and challenge what's been going on in the past. It's a lot easier to do what you already did than to start to forge new territory. Back on Track LA is, in fact, a very strategic partnership that brings together all of the parts that you've heard about to provide some meaningful and purposeful college opportunities for incarcerated individuals that will, in fact, increase their chances of successful reentry and an ability to thrive in our local communities. The educational partners right now, we have LA Community College District, Dr. Monte Perez, who is here in the audience from Mission College, and also Mr. Larry Frank, I didn't see him, but from LA Trade Tech and then College of the Canyons. We're really excited to be here. When we started our college district, shortly after it was founded, 45 years ago, we began offering welding programs here for inmates. And over the course of the years, as funding changed at the state level, and as the nature of what this facility did, we didn't do that anymore, and I'm absolutely thrilled that we can do it now. When we have a welding student, they don't always graduate with an AA degree because guess what? They get hired before they can even complete the AA degree. Our welding student that has a stackable industry credentialed certification can start at $80,000 a year without overtime in Los Angeles County. And I'm here to tell you that that is huge. And if you go on and get additional, gentlemen, if you go on and get additional education in laser welding or orbital welding, a lot underwater welding, it's a lot greater than that. Education is absolutely a critical component for any society, and certainly in order to reduce recidivism. We know that only half of Back on Track LA's participants have a high school diploma, and even fewer have ever attended college. We know that education is a key indicator of whether an individual will end up in our correctional system. 82% of prisoners in America are high school dropouts, and less than 94% of high school dropouts ever go to college. So the people in this program, you're really lucky because you have great community colleges standing behind you. Through this partnership, Not only will you be able to take courses in fields ranging from general ed to technical areas, but many of those credits will transfer to four-year colleges and universities should you wish to make the choice someday to aim higher and get that bachelor's degree. This initiative focuses on the critical time also following a person's release, as we all heard. You know, it's not easy to do something new. It isn't easy for anybody to do something new. And people across the board need the same things. I've worked over 40 years with people on probation, with people on welfare, with foster youth, with emancipated minors, with people who have less than a 6th grade education. And this is what everybody needs. Not only those people, but business leaders, educators, and teachers. They need to have a focus. They need to know where they're going. They need to have direction. They need someone to say, you must do this, and I'm going to make sure that you do this. We all do that. We all need that. They need a way to engage and make a difference for themselves. They need a way to demonstrate what they've learned. And by the way, they need someone who's encouraging them. The beauty of this program is all of those components are here for the people who choose to participate. We have a long history of tenacity and determination at College of the Canyons. We've grown from 3,000 students to 32,000 students. And we are committed to this program. We're committed to fostering the growth of our local economy and giving people the skills to make a difference and help contribute to the overall economic vitality in California. We work with anyone who wants to work with us. We have a high school on our campus. We work with businesses. We train people to work in the field of senior citizens. We have a civil rights institute on our campus. So does Los Angeles have those programs and many, many more. Community colleges are really privileged to be part of this. I got the call this summer when I was on vacation. I was on a boat, and I'm not really sure if all of my my input and thoughts, which I of course thought were important because we all think our thoughts are important, got through, because every time we hit one of those wakes, I'm not sure if it was an engine sound or the gurgling of the water coming over. But we are very committed. This isn't going to be easy, but you know what? What's important in life is never easy. What's getting to is never easy. You have to wake up every single day. You get a chance to start over. You get a chance to start over in your mind. You get a chance to tell yourself something different. And through every action you take, you get to become different. Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Back on Track LA is an important example in all of these people and many who are not here in their belief in possibilities. The reference was made that it costs $38,000 to house an inmate. $38,000 will fund 7 full-time students to go to a community college for a year. So we have an important investment in this, but our real investment is in the bottom line. The people can live meaningful lives and they can make a difference in our world. I thank all of you for inviting the community colleges to be part of this. I congratulate you, gentlemen, for being part of this. And I'm telling you, don't you give up and don't you get off track.
Okay, and finally we're going to hear, that was fabulous. We're going to now hear from Doug Wood, who is the program officer for the Ford Foundation and has been traveling back and forth to support the work that we're doing and has been just visionary in his support with resources. Come on up, Doug.
Can I say the Henry Ford reference was a nice segue? Good morning, everyone.
I'd like to tell you I planned it that way.
Oh, that's perfect. Good morning, everyone. Attorney General Harris, Sheriff McDonald, Chief Powers, Chancellor Van Hook, members of the Attorney General's leadership team, friends and colleagues, and students of Back on Track. What a pleasure it is to be here today. With the focused leadership of all of you, and most especially General Harris, we've come a long way. My name is Douglas Wood. I am a program officer and acting director of the Ford Foundation's Global Higher Education for Social Justice Initiative, and as I said, I am thrilled to be here. The goal of our work at Ford is to foster policy institutional reforms that improve disadvantaged people's access to and success in high-quality post-secondary and tertiary education. Our work in higher education spans the globe: the United States, Colombia, Peru, Chile, Brazil, Southern Africa, Egypt, and the People's Republic of China. In the United States, we focus on supporting first-generation, low-income college students to receive a high-quality post-secondary credential or degree, with a particular focus on immigrants, veterans, the incarcerated, and the formerly incarcerated. It is the latter population that brings me here today. Speaking from my colleagues in philanthropy, and I'm thrilled to have Julio Marcel, who's representing the California Wellness Foundation, Tim Szilard of the Rosenberg Foundation, Nikki Irvin of the California Community Foundation, and our thought partner on this work, Scott Butnick of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. We're thrilled and happy to partner with all of you on this. We are excited to be a partner in this work. I have many active grants which I manage in our global higher education portfolio, but I have to say that the proposal that the AG's office put forth for Back on Track was one of the strongest I have ever read. I know you've heard this before, but it's worth repeating. This program is strong for a number of reasons. First, partnering with LA community colleges such as College of the Canyons, LA Mission College, LA Trade Tech, in providing high-quality educational programming, including pre-college preparation that will lead to credentials, career-focused certificates, and degrees for in-custody and out-of-custody students. And second, providing participating student support by utilizing a comprehensive wraparound reentry approach, beginning 12 to 18 months prior to and after release. These comprehensive wraparound services will include intensive case management, continuing education services, employment services, cognitive behavior therapy, housing services, medical assistance, financial coaching and resources, family renewal and reunification, substance abuse treatment, and mental health services. Back on Track will further the Ford Foundation Higher Education for Social Justice Initiative by increasing institutional capacity for implementation, developing high-quality, scalable alternatives, and building public and political will to advocate for increased access to higher education for incarcerated individuals in California and nationwide. As I indicated previously, we have a good amount of support from our California colleagues in philanthropy, which we are grateful. And I have been blessed with the strong leadership and vision of the president of the Ford Foundation, Darren Walker. In a recent communication with our global foundation staff, he said, and I quote, "Ultimately, the Ford Foundation is dedicated to solving problems, the largest, thorniest, and most complicated problems of the day. To do so, we consistently seek out creative, pragmatic solutions and partnerships that give us the best chance to make a meaningful difference in the lives of people who are left behind in our society." As you may have read in last Friday's Sacramento Bee, he went on to say further that the fact is we know what works. And now is the time to rally behind these proven solutions and bring them to scale. In this way, we might begin to restore balance to the criminal justice system and dignity and equality for all those whose lives it touches. And we can do this with Back on Track. The Ford Foundation is pleased, in fact, we are honored to be a partner with General Harris and your office and all of you in this room today. So thank you very much.